Michael Kay joining us. How would you sum up this rivalry in 2021, Mike?
Pretty much even. I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Red Sox won 10 out of the 19 games. They started off great. The Yankees ended up great. And they swept the Red Sox in the final series that they played at Fenway Park. And Dan, if you think about it, they needed every single one of those wins. If they didn't, yesterday they would have been playing in a tie-breaking game with the Blue Jays. So I think they're fairly evenly matched. Obviously, the fan bases don't like each other. I don't know if there's that much enmity between the players.
How good are these teams? Are either one of these teams elite teams?
Well, the Yankees can be elite, and they can also be awful. It's a hard team to figure out. There are times that they look like they can beat anybody, and they could easily win the World Series, and then they end up losing 8 games to the Baltimore Orioles. They're very, very tough to pin down and say exactly what type of team they are. The Red Sox, I think, are better than people thought they were going to be. If they don't have J.D. Martinez today because of the ankle, maybe they're not as good as you would think. I think the bullpen has been used a lot out of necessity. I'm not sure how much is there right now. But this pitching matchup between Cole and Eovaldi, I think it's a pretty even matchup. I think it's a pretty even matchup for both teams. So it's definitely a flip of the coin for sure.
Do you remember when you saw the Yankees change, that they were going to go one-dimensional? They were just going to be a team that went up there and was trying to hit home runs?
I remember it was a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that Brian Cashman, the Yankee GM, said something like, "I'm looking for Harry Beast." Now he's got one in the broadcast booth, but he wanted people out actually on the field. So they just started piling power hitters up there because they feel the 3 true outcomes, a walk, a strikeout, or a home run, that plays to their strength. And I'll tell you what, Dan, when they hit home runs, they do win. But the problem is sometimes they don't hit home runs. And when they don't hit home runs, it's very, very difficult for them to create runs. Although when they were 35-11, that one streak, in the middle of the season, they had guys like Andrew Velasquez playing and Greg Allen, and they had to create runs. But they're back to the Yankees right now, and they're going to hit a home run or they're going to lose a game.
Do you think we'll get to the point where somebody is counterintuitive and that they try to play small ball? They're in maybe a pitcher's ballpark, and that's their strength. I always go back to Whitey Herzog with those Cardinals, or even Kansas City Royals, that they couldn't compete. But you can find these players, and if you build your pitching staff in accordance to your dimensions, do you think we see that in baseball at some point again?
I hope. I'm not sure, but I hope. As you know, Dan, sports is very copycat-like. So if there's a team out there that actually wins games like that, I think they might go that route. But baseball is so heavily analytic, and they are not doing this just on a whim. They've got computer readouts that say this is the best and most effective way to win games. And until those readouts say something else, I think they'll still keep stacking up home runs. The thing that I never understood, Dan, I understand the home runs win games. I just don't understand how they don't care about the strikeouts. And then you look at a team like Tampa Bay. They hit home runs, but they don't strike out. And I think that might be the next step, because their excuse, Dan, is, well, nothing bad could hit. If you strike out, nothing bad could happen other than an out. Well, nothing good could happen either. I mean, you could put a ball in play and there could be an error. So I think that Tampa Bay has solved that part of it, where you don't have to strike out 210 times a year to hit 40 home runs. I think that's the next step.
I know we're looking at the end result with the matchups for this one-game format. Is there a better format in your opinion, no matter who's in? And, the Dodgers won 106 and they're in a one-game format. That's not fair. Yankees, Red Sox, why don't they play 3? And as I said earlier in the show, if Tampa Bay was playing Toronto, no one would be saying, we got to have a 3-game series. It would be, let's just get this one and done. Is there a better format, a fairer format in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. It makes me laugh when people say, it's not fair to the Dodgers. Really? They knew the rules of engagement. Finish ahead of the Giants. You wouldn't have to play a one-game playoff. The Yankees and the Red Sox finish ahead of the Rays. You wouldn't have to play a one-game wild card. I actually like it. They're highly rated games. Essentially, you've created 2 game 7s, win or go home. And I think that's what every sport wants to do. I think it's perfect. And, there are teams that are going to be left out. And that's the beauty of it. If this wasn't a wild card situation, it wouldn't be intense down to the last inning on Sunday. And one other thing, Dan, if you turn this into a best of 3, you are then making it tougher and more difficult for the team that won the division because they've got to wait longer and not play. And sometimes that takes you out of your game. I think you've got to pay a price if you're in the wild card, which the Yankees and the Red Sox will do, because you're not going to use Cole in the first game of the ALDS and you're not going to use Eovaldi. In fact, you can only use them once out of the best of 5. You need that detriment so that you go to win the division. I like it just the way it is.
Did you ever have one of those moments, phone calls, meetings with George Steinbrenner in your career where you went, oh boy?
I know he was upset with me once because I said that the Yankees had reneged on a contract to Darryl Strawberry, and he was in the car riding to the airport to leave New York, and he was listening to John and myself on the radio and heard that. And let's just put it this way, Dan, he made the driver turn around on the George Washington Bridge to go back to the stadium. So we had a little bit of a discussion after that game, but usually it was pretty cool because, you know, we don't have to be homers with the Yankees. We just say the truth because that's how George Steinbrenner was. If the team wasn't playing poorly, he said it. So he allowed us to say it on the air as well. And it was kind of refreshing.
For somebody who didn't meet or didn't know George Steinbrenner, how would you sum him up?
Intense. When he was in the building, you knew he was in the building, even if you didn't know he was there. If you hadn't seen him, everybody was buttoned up. And I think that you still see the residual of that with Brian Cashman, who once told me, I overstudy everything simply because of the fact I don't want him to ask me a question that I don't know the answer to. So he was driven. He had a really soft side as well, but he was very, very difficult to work for because if you didn't do your job, he didn't want you there any longer. That's the best way I could describe him.
We got Daniel Jones coming up. Would you rather be a Jets fan or a Giants fan?
Well, that's a hard question. I guess the Giants are closer. So I would say I'd rather be a Giant fan, although the Jets do have some hope because I think Zach Wilson can play. And I like Robert Saleh and how he's comported himself as well. But since I don't like suffering that much, Dan, at least not in sports, I think I would take the Giants.
Can you see Theo Epstein coming to the rescue for the New York Mets?
I can. I guess the offer could be high enough that any reservations he might have, maybe working for Steve Cohen. I don't know why he would have those, but if he did, you know, Steve Cohen could write a big enough check. I guess this is the next thing to conquer. You've conquered Chicago and Boston, and if you could somehow straighten out the Mets, I mean, he's already got a plaque in Cooperstown anyway. Maybe they just build him an entire wing if he did this.
I wondered if he wanted to be the commissioner, though, because he's working in the commissioner's office, and I don't know what his end game is, but I wondered about that if he was sort of in the line of succession to take over for Rob Manfred down the road.
You know, I don't know if he would be because the commissioner's job is more businessman than sportsman. And, you know, obviously he's been the president of the Cubs and obviously he ran some business operations, but you've got to answer to 30 owners and amongst the owners there's divisions, and then you've got to deal with the players as well. I'm not sure, A, he would want it, and B, the owners are the guys that hire the commissioner. Are they going to hire Theo Epstein? I'm not sure. I think they might go the businessman route again.
What's the coolest thing in your office?
Right behind me is all these baseballs and a couple of, you know, I had a lot of announcers signed. So Ernie Harwell and Vin Scully. And Vin Scully to me, because I went to Fordham and he went to Fordham, he's kind of like the patron saint of what we do, even to this day. So that's one of my special things there.
Have you ever been mistaken for anybody?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Okay.
If you look at my eyes,
I can see that.
my eyes,
Okay.
but he's a little better looking than I am. But I also have gotten lately Jameson Tyone, which I'm sorry for Jameson that, you know, people have to say that about him.
What about Curt Schilling?
Oh yeah, I got that. I got that in Logan. Guy comes up to me and said, Kurt, I mean, it was unbelievable what you did in 2004. I said, I didn't do anything in 2004. And he goes, no, the whole bloody sock thing. I said, that wasn't me. And he thought I was just blowing him off. So then if he insisted I was Curt Schilling, so then I essentially blew him off. I said, I don't really want to talk to you.
Because it doesn't matter to you if this guy doesn't like Curt Schilling.
Not at all. But I mean, I get Curt Schilling a lot. And as I go back more in the power alleys, I get more and more.
Have fun tonight there, Michael.
I'm going to try, Dan. Thanks a lot. Good to see you.
Michael Kay, Yankee play-by-play voice for the Yes Network, and his book is My Most Fascinating Interviews from A-Rod to Jay-Z.